Have you ever met someone who was just so confident, but so incredibly wrong? Well, today we're diving into the psychology behind that. It's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect, and it explains why the least competent people are often the most sure of themselves. And believe it or not, this whole story starts with a bank robber and some lemon juice.
No, really, you heard that right. It sounds like the beginning of a terrible joke, but this is a completely true story. And the reason why this guy thought smearing lemon juice on his face was a brilliant idea is the key to understanding a fundamental and kinda hilarious glitch in all of our brains.
So, let's properly introduce the man at the center of this very strange case. His bizarre logic didn't just get him caught. It actually inspired two psychologists to uncover a universal truth about how our minds work.
Okay, get this. MacArthur Wheeler wasn't trying to be funny. He had this, let's call it creative logic. He knew lemon juice could be used as invisible ink. So, naturally, he figured if he put it on his face, he'd be invisible to security cameras. When the police caught him, which, took less than an hour, and showed him the security tapes, he was genuinely shocked. He just muttered, "But I wore the juice." I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? This is exactly what fascinated two psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger. They realized that Wheeler's insane confidence wasn't just a weird one-off story. It was a clue, pointing to a much bigger, much more common psychological phenomenon. So yeah, Wheeler's little lemon juice experiment inspired Dunning and Kruger to scientifically dig into this link between being bad at something and being completely unaware that you're bad at it. And what they found is what we now call the Dunning-Kruger effect. This definition nails what was happening with our bank robber. He was so incompetent at the skill of, crime, that he literally couldn't see his own incompetence. That total lack of skill created a massive blind spot in his own mind. And this right here, this is the heart of it. It's this cruel little paradox called the double burden. So, burden number one, you're just not good at the task, so you make a bunch of mistakes. And burden number two, that exact same lack of skill means you don't even have the tools to realize you're making mistakes in the first place. So they put this to the test. In their original study, they gave students tests on stuff like logic and grammar, and the results were wild. Just look at this gap. The students who actually scored in the bottom quarter, the bottom 25%, they believed on average that they were performing better than 60% of their classmates. It's a total disconnect from reality. Okay, so how does this actually play out in our everyday lives? Well, the relationship between how much we know and how confident we feel follows this surprisingly predictable path. It's a journey that almost everyone takes when they learn something new, and it's often, and hilariously, called the journey up Mount Stoop. Seriously, think about anything you've ever tried to learn, playing the guitar, learning to cook, maybe even a video game. I guarantee you've gone through these exact stages, whether you knew it or not. All right, here's the first stop. You learn a tiny bit about something, and bam, you suddenly feel like a genius. Your little sliver of knowledge gives you this huge unearned rush of confidence. Why? Because you're just blissfully unaware of how deep the rabbit hole really goes. And then, reality hits, hard. The more you learn, the more you realize how little you actually know. You start to see the true scale of the subject, and it's overwhelming. Your confidence just completely tanks. This is a super important and, often pretty painful part of learning anything. But if you stick with it, if you push through that valley, that's when the real work begins. You're not just faking it anymore. You're actually building genuine skill. And your confidence starts to climb back up, but this time it's built on a solid foundation of real, hard-earned competence. And finally, you reach true expertise. Your confidence is high, as it should be, but it's a different kind of confidence. It's humble. You understand the subject so deeply that you're also keenly aware of what you don't know. You know the limits. So it's really easy to look at that graph and think about our friend the bank robber, or maybe that one guy at work. But here's the most important part of this whole explainer. This isn't about them, it's about us.
I mean, it's a nice thought, isn't it? To think, oh, this is a problem that affects other people, the ones who aren't as smart as me. But that is a really comfortable and a really dangerous illusion. Let's be clear. The Dunning-Kruger effect has nothing to do with intelligence. It's about awareness. Every single one of us is incompetent at something. A lot of things, probably. And in those areas, we are all vulnerable to this exact same cognitive blind spot. It's a feature, not a bug, of being human.
This iceberg is just the perfect way to picture it. That little tip sticking out of the water, that's the stuff we know. But the Dunning-Kruger effect lives in that enormous, invisible chunk of ice underwater. That's our meta-ignorance. We're not just ignorant, we're ignorant of our own ignorance.
But wait, the story doesn't end there. Because the original study found a fascinating flip side to all of this, a totally different kind of trap that even the most skilled and competent people can fall right into.
Check out this comparison. While the novice wildly overestimates their skills, experts often do the exact opposite. They underestimate their own ability. A real expert might solve a complex problem and think, well, if that was easy for me, it must be easy for everybody. They project their own skill onto others, which can sometimes lead to what we call imposter syndrome.
Okay, so if we all have these cognitive blind spots, what on earth can we do about it? Well, the good news is just knowing this effect exists is half the battle. And there are some really concrete things you can do to avoid getting permanently stuck on top of Mount Stupid.
Here are 3 amazing tools. Number 1, stay curious. Always be a student and actively try to prove yourself wrong. Number 2, get a reality check. Ask people you trust for brutally honest feedback. And third, practice metacognition. Basically, get used to thinking about your own thinking. Ask yourself, wait, how do I actually know this is true?
And that really brings us to the final, big takeaway. True intelligence, real wisdom, it isn't about having all the answers and shouting them from the rooftops. It's about understanding the limits of your own knowledge and being humble and curious enough to keep pushing them.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. Thinking about your own journey down from Mount Stupid is probably the single best defense against ever getting stuck up there again. Thanks for tuning in.